There is a fundamental rule that governs life on Earth, a hierarchy that has held firm for hundreds of millions of years. It is a simple contract. The plant draws energy from the sun and nutrients from the soil. The animal eats the plant, and in the end, the animal dies and returns to the earth to feed the plant. This is the circle. It is orderly, predictable, and peaceful. But in certain dark, forgotten corners of the world, this contract has been broken. There are places where the soil is empty, where the sun is not enough, and where the plants have turned against the natural order. In these places, the green world does not wait to be eaten, it hunts. We are entering a realm of silent violence, where leaves have evolved into jaws, where flowers have become cages, and where beauty is nothing more than a lure. These are the carnivorous plants. They are the rebels of the botanical world, organisms that have abandoned the passive life of the garden to become slow, patient, and terrifying predators. Tonight, we will explore the evolution of this green hunger. We will look at the microscopic engineering of the Venus flytrap, the sticky diamond-like prisons of the sundew, and the deep liquid graves of the pitcher plants. We will ask how a plant, without a brain, without muscles, and without eyes, learned to count, to plan, and to kill. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you. It's always fascinating to see who is joining us from around the world. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. To understand the profound strangeness of a carnivorous plant, we must first appreciate the ancient stability they have rejected. For over 1 billion years, the division of labor on this planet has been clear. Plants are the producers. They are the alchemists of the earth, performing the quiet miracle of photosynthesis, turning sunlight and air into sugar and wood. They are the foundation, the silent providers at the bottom of the food pyramid. They are designed to be stationary, passive, and enduring. Animals, in contrast, are the consumers. We are the movers, the burners of energy, the destroyers who must take life to sustain our own. We define ourselves by our ability to move, to hunt, and to eat. The distinction between the eater and the eaten is the most basic definition of biology. But the carnivorous plant blurs this line. It creates a confusing, unsettling hybrid. It is a creature that sits rooted in the ground like an oak tree, yet possesses the murderous intent of a tiger. When we look at a Venus flytrap snapping shut on a fly, or a pitcher plant digesting a lizard, we are witnessing a biological reversal. It feels wrong because it violates the intuitive physics of our world. The victim has become the executioner. The architecture of the plant, usually designed for catching light, has been twisted and re-engineered for catching flesh. This transformation was not an accident. It was not a random mutation that simply stuck. It was a desperate, calculated response to a specific kind of torture. These plants did not choose to become killers because they were aggressive. They became killers because they were starving. They evolved in landscapes that were beautiful to look at, but which were, chemically speaking, deserts. To survive in a world that refused to feed them, they had to find a new source of food. They had to look up from the soil and turn their attention to the creatures crawling on their leaves. To find the cradle of these monsters, you must go to the wetlands. You must travel to the sun-drenched peat bogs of North Carolina, the misty tepuis of Venezuela, or the soaked fens of Northern Europe. To the human eye, these places look like paradises. They are lush, vibrant, and overflowing with water and light. But this visual abundance is a lie. To a plant, a bog is a torture chamber. It is a biological desert disguised as a garden. The problem is the soil. In these waterlogged environments, the water is often highly acidic. It is constantly flushing through the ground, washing away minerals, or locking them up in complex organic compounds that plant roots simply cannot touch. The most critical missing ingredient is nitrogen. Nitrogen is the currency of life. It is the fundamental building block of DNA, of proteins, and of the very chlorophyll that makes a plant green. Without nitrogen, a plant cannot grow. It cannot reproduce. It can only slowly wither. Most plants in these environments are engaged in a losing battle. They invest massive amounts of energy into growing vast, complex root systems, searching desperately through the mud for nutrients that simply are not there. But the ancestors of the carnivorous plants chose a different path. They realized, in a slow evolutionary sense, that the soil was a dead end. They stopped looking down and started looking up. They realized that while the ground was empty, the air above them was filled with flying, buzzing, crawling packets of nitrogen. The insects were not enemies, they were fertilizer with wings. And so, the plants made a grim evolutionary trade-off. They sacrificed the efficiency of their roots and the gathering of light to build weapons. They decided to bypass the soil entirely and harvest their nutrients directly from the bodies of the dead. Evolution is a tinkerer, not an inventor. It does not create new organs out of thin air. It modifies what is already there. The terrifying jaws of the Venus flytrap and the deep drowning pools of the pitcher plant are not new appendages. They are leaves. They are the result of a slow, millions of year-long modification of the standard solar panel of the plant world. This is the great betrayal. The leaf, designed to catch the sun, was twisted and repurposed to catch flesh. We can see the stages of this transformation written in the botany of the plants themselves. It likely began with a simple defense mechanism. Many ordinary plants have hairy stems or sticky secretions to stop bugs from eating them. In the nitrogen-starved bogs, a prehistoric ancestor of these plants might have had slightly stickier leaves than usual. Small insects would get stuck and die. As their tiny bodies decomposed on the leaf surface, the nitrogen leached out. The plant, starving for this very element, absorbed it through the leaf's pores. It was a moment of chemical revelation. The plant that caught the bug grew faster and stronger than the plant that didn't. Natural selection seized upon this advantage with a ruthless efficiency. Over thousands of generations, the leaves changed. They became less focused on photosynthesis and more focused on capture. They curled into cups to hold rainwater and enzymes. They developed glands not to release waste, but to secrete acid. They grew trigger hairs and sweet nectar glands. The leaf ceased to be a passive solar collector and became an active, hungry stomach. This shift came with a heavy cost. Carnivorous leaves are terrible at photosynthesis compared to normal leaves. They are expensive to build and maintain. But in the green desert, they were the only way to survive. The trap was born. If you were to walk through a peat bog at sunrise, when the mist is still lifting from the water, you might see something glittering in the low light. It looks like a patch of jewels scattered across the moss, a carpet of red and green stalks covered in thousands of shimmering, crystal-clear droplets. This is Drosera, the sundew. To a human eye, it is exquisitely beautiful. To a thirsty insect, it is irresistible. The droplets look exactly like morning dew or sweet nectar, a promise of hydration and energy. But this is the deadliest optical illusion in the plant kingdom. The droplets are not water, they are mucilage, a complex, sugary and incredibly sticky slime produced by glands at the tip of each tentacle. When a mosquito or a gnat lands to take a drink, the trap is sprung instantly. This is not a mechanical snap, but a chemical adhesion. The insect's legs sink into the fluid. It tries to lift off, but the mucilage stretches like molten glass, forming long, unbreakable threads that anchor the victim to the leaf. The struggle is the catalyst for disaster. As the insect thrashes, it bumps into neighboring tentacles, each one adding its own tether, sticking the prey deeper and deeper into the deadly, glittering bed. The plant has not just caught a meal, it has ensnared it in a liquid chain. The horror of the sundew is not just that it is sticky, it is that it is alive and aware. Once the prey is ensnared, the plant begins to move. This is a phenomenon known as thigmotropism, movement in response to touch. It is one of the few times in nature where we can watch a plant actively hunting in real time, though the pace is agonizingly slow. Minutes after the insect is trapped, the tentacles around the edge of the leaf begin to bend inward. They are guided by the chemical taste of the struggling victim. Over the course of an hour or two, the entire leaf may curl up and over, wrapping around the insect like a closing fist. This is a slow-motion suffocation. The plant is maximizing the surface area of contact, pressing as many digestive glands as possible against the body of the prey. The struggle ceases not because the insect escapes, but because it is overwhelmed by the sticky fluid, its breathing pores clogged, its energy spent. Once the embrace is complete, the leaf floods the enclosed space with enzymes. The jewel-like beauty is gone, replaced by the ruthless efficiency of a stomach. The plant will remain curled in this tight, digestive ball for days, only unfurling when nothing remains but a dry, empty husk. In the dry, ancient landscapes of Australia, another variation of this sticky trap has evolved, one that relies on a different kind of deception. This is Biblis, the rainbow plant. It grows not as a low rosette like the sundew, but as a tall, woody bush, its leaves long and slender like needles. In the harsh sunlight, these leaves seem to pulse with spectral colors. The mucilage droplets along its stems refract the light, creating a shimmering, prismatic aura around the plant. It is a beacon of color in a drab landscape. Unlike the sundew, the rainbow plant is a passive killer. Its leaves do not curl, they do not embrace the victim. They do not need to. The adhesive power of its glue is so strong, and the forest of sticky stems is so dense that escape is physically impossible. It functions like a living, three-dimensional spiderweb. It catches not just small gnats, but larger prey, moths, butterflies, and sometimes even small frogs or lizards that brush against its deadly beauty. They are caught and held suspended in the shimmering light, slowly digested by enzymes that ooze from the very surface that holds them prisoner. It is a silent, glittering graveyard where the dead are displayed as trophies on the stems of the living. In the Fynbos heathlands of South Africa, there is a plant that takes the sticky trap strategy and twists it into a narrative of tragic complexity. This is Roridula, the flycatcher bush. It is an evolutionary anomaly, a creature caught between two worlds. Like the sundew, it is covered in resinous hairs, and its glue is terrifyingly strong. So strong, in fact, that it has been known to accidentally ensnare small birds. But here lies the tragedy. Roridula possesses no digestive enzymes. It can catch a feast, even a bird, but it cannot eat it. It is a hunter with a sewn-shut mouth, doomed to hold its victims until they rot. To survive this paradox, it has entered into a dark pact with another species. Living exclusively on the sticky leaves of the Roridula is a specific type of assassin bug called Pameridea. These bugs are the plant's external stomach. They are immune to the resin. Their legs are coated in a special non-stick grease that allows them to skate across the deadly glue like oil. When an insect, or a hapless bird, gets trapped, the assassin bugs swarm. They are the butchers. They pierce the trapped victim and suck it dry. The plant does not get the blood, it gets the leftovers. As the assassin bugs digest their meal, they defecate onto the leaves. The plant then absorbs the nitrogen-rich waste through its skin. It is a relationship of perfect, gruesome efficiency. The plant provides the trap, the bug provides the digestion, and together they thrive in a landscape where neither could survive alone. Sticky traps are effective, but they are passive. They rely on the prey exhausting itself. But in the boggy savannas of the Carolinas and nowhere else on Earth, a plant evolved that challenged the very definition of what a vegetable could be. This is Dionea muscipula, the Venus flytrap. When Charles Darwin first studied it in the 19th century, he was so astounded by its animal-like behavior that he called it one of the most wonderful plants in the world. He saw what we see, a plant that has evolved the ability to hunt with speed. The architecture of the trap is iconic, but it is also a masterclass in deception. Two lobes are held open like a clam, lined with stiff, finger-like cilia that act as the bars of a cage. The interior is often colored a deep, visceral red. To an insect, this looks like a flower, or perhaps even raw meat, a visual promise of protein. The rim secretes a sweet nectar to complete the illusion. But this is not a flower, it is a loaded spring. The leaves are held under immense tension, curved outward like a contact lens flipped the wrong way. They are waiting for a signal to snap, to invert their shape instantly and slam shut. This movement happens in a fraction of a second, faster than the human eye can follow. It is a violent, mechanical action that transforms the plant from a static object into a grabbing hand. The ability to move fast comes with a dangerous price. Closing the trap burns a massive amount of energy, and reopening it takes hours. If the trap were to close every time a raindrop fell or a piece of debris blew into it, the plant would starve to death from exhaustion. To solve this problem, the Venus flytrap has evolved a form of biological intelligence that is almost unnerving. It has learned to count. Inside the trap, on the surface of each red lobe, are 3 tiny, sensitive trigger hairs. These are the tripwires of a sophisticated computer. If a fly lands and touches just one hair, nothing happens. The plant waits. It possesses a short-term memory, a chemical timer that starts ticking the moment that first hair is bent. It knows that a single touch could be a false alarm, a falling leaf, or a shift in the wind. The mechanism is primed, tension building, but held in check. But if the fly touches a second hair within roughly 20 seconds, or touches the same hair twice, the circuit is completed. The confirmation is received. The plant knows that only a living, moving creature would strike 2 triggers in such a short window. Instantly, the bioelectrical signal is fired, the water pressure in the leaf cells collapses, and the trap slams shut. 1 is an accident, 2 is a meal. If the second touch never comes, the plant forgets the first, resetting its trap for the next visitor. It is a primitive, ruthless logic written in the cells of a leaf. The moment the second hair is touched, the plant does something that seems to violate the boundaries of its kingdom. It fires an electrical impulse. We associate electricity with animals, with the firing of neurons in a brain or the twitch of a muscle. But here, in a creature with no brain and no nerves, a wave of voltage sweeps across the lobes. It is called an action potential, the exact same electrochemical signal that allows your finger to feel the texture of this screen or your heart to beat. In the Venus flytrap, this signal races through the green tissue at a speed of inches per second, a lightning strike in the slow-motion world of botany. This electrical surge triggers a sudden, catastrophic shift in the plant's internal hydraulics. The cells on the outer surface of the leaf instantly gorge themselves with water, expanding violently, while the inner cells remain limp. This differential pressure forces the leaf to snap concave, reversing its curvature in 1/10 of a second. It is a feat of hydraulic engineering so precise that it puts human machines to shame. The plant has turned itself into a battery, storing potential energy in the tension of its cells, waiting days for the single, explosive moment of release. It is a silent, green computer, processing data and executing a kill command without a single neuron firing. The initial snap is terrifyingly fast, but it is not a complete seal. The lobes swing shut just enough to interlock the stiff, finger-like cilia on the rim. This creates a cage, a prison with bars. This is a deliberate design feature, a final filter. If the prey is too small, an ant that isn't worth the energy to digest, it can slip through the bars and escape. The plant wants a meal, not a snack, but for a larger fly or beetle, there is no exit. The panic sets in. The insect thrashes against the walls of its new green cell, and in doing so, it seals its own fate. Every desperate movement brushes against the trigger hairs again and again, stimulating the plant further. Sensing the continued struggle, the trap begins its second phase, the narrowing. Over the next hour, the lobes squeeze tighter and tighter, pressing the edges together until they form a hermetic, airtight seal. The cage becomes a stomach. The plant then floods the chamber with digestive acids and enzymes, chemicals strong enough to break down the insect's exoskeleton and dissolve its soft tissues into a nutrient-rich soup. The trap will remain sealed for a week or more, a silent, flat envelope of death. When it finally reopens, the only thing that remains is the dry, empty husk of the insect, blown away by the wind as if it had never existed. The plant has fed, and it resets its trap, waiting for the next count of 2. The Venus flytrap is famous, but it is not the fastest hunter. To find the true speed demon of the botanical world, we must look underwater into the murky, rootless world of the aquatic carnivorous plants. Here lives Aldrovanda vesiculosa, the waterwheel plant. It is a close cousin of the Venus flytrap, but it has evolved to hunt in a medium that is 800 times denser than air. It floats freely just below the surface, a spinning wheel of tiny, transparent traps, each no larger than a pinhead. It hunts the microscopic drifting animals of the pond, like water fleas and mosquito larvae. Because it lives in water, Aldrovanda does not have the luxury of gravity or air resistance to help it catch prey. It must be faster than the reflex of a swimming creature. Its traps are set on a hair trigger so sensitive that the slightest brush against its bristles causes the trap to snap shut in roughly 10 to 20 milliseconds. This is a speed so profound it is invisible to the human eye. One moment the trap is open, the next it is closed, with the victim already inside. It is one of the fastest movements ever recorded in the plant kingdom. In the silence of the pond, these microscopic machines operate like snapping jaws, consuming thousands of tiny lives to fuel their growth in the nutrient-poor water. It is a reminder that the hunger of the plants extends to every corner of the ecosystem, from the air to the depths. Active hunters like the Venus flytrap rely on speed, but in the rainforests of Southeast Asia and the swamps of North America, a different strategy has evolved. It is a strategy of pure, elegant passivity. These are the pitcher plants, the Nepenthes and Sarracenia. They do not snap or grab, they simply wait. Their trap is a masterpiece of botanical pottery, a leaf that has been elongated, hollowed out, and inflated into a deep hanging vessel. To a human, they look like strange, exotic goblets hanging from vines. To an insect, they look like a sanctuary. The evolution of the pitcher is a marvel of transformation. It begins as a simple tendril extending from the tip of a leaf. This tendril grows long, drooping down like a cable, and then, at the end, it begins to swell. It fills with air, inflating like a balloon, and slowly forms a lid to keep out the rain. When it finally pops open, it reveals a structure of stunning complexity. The rim is often brightly colored with neon veins of red and purple, and it secretes a copious amount of nectar. It is a beacon of food in the green gloom of the jungle. The insect is drawn to the rim, enticed by the sugar, completely unaware that it is standing on the edge of a precipice from which there is no return. It is not being hunted, it is being seduced into its own grave. The genius of the pitcher plant lies in its rim, a structure known as the peristome. It looks like a glossy, ribbed collar surrounding the mouth of the trap. When dry, the peristome is safe to walk on. Ants can scurry across it to harvest the nectar, but the plant is waiting for rain or for the high humidity of the dawn. When the peristome becomes wet, its physics change instantly. The surface becomes frictionless. The microscopic ridges on the rim retain a thin film of water that prevents the insect's feet from making contact with the plant tissue. This is the same physical principle as a car hydroplaning on a wet highway. The insect steps onto the rim, expecting solid ground, and finds nothing. Its grip fails instantly. There is no struggle, no warning, just a silent slip. Gravity takes over. The walls of the pitcher below the rim are coated with a flaky wax that clogs the sticky pads of an insect's feet, ensuring that once the fall begins, it cannot be arrested. The victim slides helplessly down the smooth vertical throat of the plant, tumbling into the dark pool waiting at the bottom. It is a design of terrifying simplicity, using nothing but water and gravity to secure a meal. The liquid at the bottom of the pitcher is not rainwater. It is a complex biological cocktail brewed by the plant itself. It contains digestive enzymes similar to those found in a human stomach, acids designed to break down protein, and powerful antifungal agents to keep the soup from rotting. But in some species of Nepenthes, the fluid has a more sinister physical property. It is viscoelastic. It acts as a non-Newtonian fluid similar to quicksand or mucus. When an insect falls into this fluid, its natural reaction is to thrash, to swim, to fight its way to the surface. But this fluid behaves strangely. The harder the insect struggles, the thicker and more resistant the liquid becomes. It clings to the victim's body in long, ropey strands, dragging it down like invisible hands. The insect is not just drowning, it is being exhausted. The fluid clogs its spiracles, cutting off its air supply, while the enzymes immediately begin to burn through its exoskeleton. It is a stomach that sits open in the forest, digesting its prey while they are often still alive, turning the vibrant energy of the jungle into a nutrient-rich broth that the plant drinks through the walls of its own leaf. In the remote, cloud-shrouded peaks of Mount Kinabalu in Borneo, the concept of the carnivorous plant reaches its terrifying zenith. Here, in soils toxic to most other life, grows the king of the genus, Nepenthes raja. It is a plant of monstrous proportions. While most pitcher plants capture ants or flies, the raja operates on a different scale entirely. Its pitchers can hold up to 3 liters of fluid. They are the size of a football, heavy, leathery, and resting on the ground like bloated purple-red stomachs. This is the absolute limit of leaf evolution. A structure so massive it strains the plant's ability to support it. Because of its size, Nepenthes raja has crossed a threshold that few plants ever approach. It has entered the realm of the vertebrate hunter. While it primarily consumes large insects, it is one of the few plants on Earth capable of trapping and digesting frogs, lizards, birds, and even small mammals like rats. Imagine the scene. A small rodent, attracted by the immense volume of nectar, slips on the giant rim and falls into the dark, acid-filled cavern. The walls are too high and too slippery to climb. There is no escape. The plant does not need to move. It simply contains the drowning creature. Over the course of weeks, the enzymes strip the flesh from the bone, turning a complex warm-blooded animal into a simple nutrient broth. It is a grim reminder that in the deep jungle, size offers no protection against the hunger of the vegetation. Half a world away, in the cold, rushing mountain streams of California and Oregon, evolves a predator that relies not on size, but on a sophisticated optical illusion. This is Darlingtonia californica, the cobra lily. Its appearance is striking and unsettling. It rises from the ground like a nest of rearing snakes, its tubular leaves twisting upward and hooded at the top, complete with a forked tongue that hangs from the opening. But unlike the open-mouthed pitchers of Borneo, the cobra lily hides its entrance. The opening is tucked underneath the hood, invisible from above. Once an insect crawls inside, lured by the scent of nectar, it finds itself in a confusing, light-filled chamber. The hood of the plant is covered in fenestrations, translucent patches of tissue that look like windows. The insect, acting on its natural instinct to fly toward the light to escape, bypasses the true dark exit below and flies repeatedly against the false windows above. It is a psychological trap. The prey is not held by glue or bars, but by its own confusion. It buzzes frantically against the ceiling of the plant, exhausting itself in a futile attempt to fly through the solid vegetable glass. Eventually, fatigue takes over. The insect drops, falling past the entrance and down into the tube, which is lined with thousands of downward-pointing hairs. These hairs act like a ratchet mechanism. The insect can slide down, but it cannot climb back up. It is guided gently, inevitably, into the digestion chamber below, a victim of its own attraction to the light. While the pitcher plants rely on gravity and the Venus flytrap relies on snap-buckling hydraulics, there is a predator lurking in the stagnant ponds of the world that utilizes a mechanism of pure, violent physics. This is Utricularia, the bladderwort. To the naked eye, it looks like nothing more than a tangle of green floating weed, perhaps adorned with small yellow flowers rising above the water. But the roots floating beneath the surface are studded with hundreds of tiny translucent bladders, each no larger than a grain of sand. These are not air sacs for buoyancy, they are the most sophisticated vacuum traps in nature. The bladder sets its trap by pumping water out of its interior, creating a powerful internal vacuum. The walls of the trap bow inward, held under immense tension, sealed by a tiny, watertight door lined with sensitive trigger hairs. When a microscopic water flea or a nematode worm brushes against these hairs, the door buckles. It collapses inward. The result is a violent implosion. In less than a millisecond, faster than the blink of an eye, faster than the firing of a neuron, the water rushes in to fill the void, sucking the prey along with it. The door then snaps shut, sealing the victim inside. The acceleration forces involved in this event are staggering, reaching up to 600 Gs. The prey is physically torn from the water column and entombed in a digestive chamber before its nervous system can even register the event. The plant then slowly pumps the water back out, resetting the vacuum, ready to kill again in 20 minutes. Not all hunters need light to see. In the damp, dark soils of Africa and South America, there exists a plant that has abandoned the concept of roots entirely. This is Genlisea, the corkscrew plant. What looks like a root system anchoring it to the mud is, in reality, a subterranean network of specialized pale leaves modified into hollow tubes. These tubes are twisted into perfect spirals, looking like a corkscrew or a drill bit buried in the earth. They are hunting grounds designed for the blind, microscopic life of the soil, protozoa, mites, and nematodes. The plant lures its prey using a chemical gradient, a scent trail that mimics the smell of decaying organic matter or perhaps the pheromones of other microorganisms. A single-celled organism, navigating the dark pore spaces of the soil, detects this scent and follows it to a small slit in the spiral tube. It enters, expecting food, but finds itself inside a long, winding corridor. There is no violent snap, no sticky glue. There is only a path, but it is a path that has been engineered with a diabolical understanding of geometry. The interior of the Genlisea tube is a masterpiece of directional architecture. It functions exactly like a lobster pot or an eel trap. The walls are lined with thousands of microscopic inward-pointing hairs. As the prey moves forward deeper into the spiral, it glides easily over these hairs. But if it tries to turn back, the hairs act like a wall of spikes, catching against its body and preventing retreat. The geometry of the spiral forces the prey to move in only one direction, forward and down. The tunnel is not endless. As the victim travels deeper into the corkscrew, the tube narrows, becoming tighter and more claustrophobic. The water inside changes chemistry, becoming richer in digestive enzymes and poorer in oxygen. The prey is unknowingly marching into a stomach. At the very end of the spiral lies the digestion chamber, a small vesicle where the journey ends. Here, the plant absorbs the soft bodies of its microscopic victims, extracting the nutrients needed to fuel the small, innocent-looking flowers that bloom in the sun above. It is a silent, industrial process of extraction occurring beneath the feet of the forest, a reminder that the hunger of the plant kingdom extends even into the dark solitude of the earth. We have spent a long time looking at these plants as solitary assassins, lonely sentinels waiting in the bog to consume anything that moves. But nature rarely deals in absolutes. In the complex web of the rainforest, even a stomach can become a home. For some carnivorous plants, the strategy of killing insects has proven to be inefficient or insufficient. They have evolved to become landlords. They have forged diplomatic relations with the animal kingdom, creating safe zones within their traps where specific creatures are allowed to roam, sleep, and breed, provided they pay a chemical rent. This shift from predation to mutualism is one of the most surprising twists in the botanical narrative. It suggests that the carnivorous trait is not a fixed identity, but a tool that can be modified. The deadly fluid, the slippery walls, and the lure of nectar can all be repurposed. Instead of a death trap, the plant becomes a sanctuary, a microhabitat where the plant trades safety for nutrients, engaging in a biological barter system that sustains both the host and the guest in the unforgiving environment of the nutrient-poor forest. If you peer into the fluid of the purple pitcher plant, Sarracenia purpurea, you might expect to see only death. The water is teeming with digestive enzymes and rotting corpses. Yet, incredibly, there is life swimming through this toxic soup. The larvae of the pitcher plant mosquito, Weomia smithi, have evolved a complete immunity to the plant's digestive chemistry. They live their entire youth inside the trap, feeding on the decaying carcasses of other insects that have fallen in. They are the scavengers of the pit. This is not theft, it is a service. By breaking down the trapped insects into smaller particles, the mosquito larvae accelerate the rate of decomposition. They act like an external digestive system, processing the food so the plant can absorb the nutrients more quickly. In return, the plant provides a predator-free nursery for the mosquito's young. It is a microscopic ecosystem contained within a single leaf, where the plant tolerates the thief because the thief helps clean the table. There are diving ants in Borneo that swim in the digestive fluids of Nepenthes bicalcarata, retrieving large prey that the plant cannot digest alone, breaking it down on the dry rim, and dropping the scraps back in. The trap is not just a stomach, it is a shared kitchen. In the high-altitude cloud forests of Borneo, the relationship between plant and animal takes a turn that is both bizarre and brilliantly practical. Here grows Nepenthes lowi. It is a pitcher plant. but it has lost the ability to catch bugs. Its rim is not slippery, its lid is reflexed back, and it produces no digestive fluid for drowning insects. Instead, the lid secretes a massive amount of white, sugary nectar that acts as a powerful laxative. This plant has evolved not to eat insects, but to be a toilet. Its target is the mountain tree shrew. The shape of the pitcher has evolved to perfectly match the body size of the shrew. To reach the sugary nectar on the lid, the animal must sit on the reinforced rim of the pitcher. As it feeds on the laxative nectar, it defecates directly into the bowl of the plant. This might seem grotesque, but in the nitrogen-starved world of the mountain peak, it is a goldmine. Shrew droppings are incredibly rich in nitrogen. The plant flushes this waste down into its digestion chamber, absorbing the nutrients with high efficiency. It has traded the uncertain lottery of catching flies for the reliable daily delivery of high-grade fertilizer from a dedicated mammal partner. In the steaming peat swamps of Borneo, another pitcher plant, Nepenthes hemsliana, has forged an alliance with the sky. This plant has evolved a unique shape that has nothing to do with trapping insects and everything to do with acoustics. The back wall of the pitcher is shaped like a parabolic dish, designed to reflect the ultrasonic echolocation calls of Hardwick's woolly bat. To a passing bat scanning the dense jungle for a place to rest, this plant lights up on its sonar screen like a beacon. The bat roosts inside the pitcher during the day. It is the perfect hotel room, waterproof, free of parasites, and protected from snakes and other predators. The plant does not digest the bat. It does not produce fluid deep enough to harm it. Instead, it accepts payment in the form of guano. The bat's droppings fall to the bottom of the tube, providing the plant with a rich, steady diet of nitrogen. Studies have shown that these plants derive nearly all of their nutrients from their flying tenants. It is a relationship built on sound and shelter, a sophisticated pact between a vegetable and a mammal that relies on the plant's ability to function as an acoustic reflector in the dark, noisy chaos of the jungle. When the first specimens of the Venus flytrap arrived in London in the 18th century, they were met not just with scientific curiosity, but with a profound moral unease. The great botanist Carl Linnaeus, the father of modern taxonomy, famously refused to believe that the plant actually consumed insects. He argued that it was against the order of nature as willed by God for a plant to eat an animal. He declared that the insects were captured by accident and released once they stopped moving. But Charles Darwin, the man who would later shatter the comfortable illusions of the Victorian world, saw the truth. In his later years, Darwin became obsessed with these plants. He wrote to a friend, "I care more about Drosera than the origin of all the species in the world." To Darwin, these plants were the perfect proof of adaptation. He treated them not as botanical curiosities, but as animals in disguise. In his greenhouse at Down House, he conducted experiments that bordered on the bizarre. He fed them roast beef. He fed them hard-boiled eggs. He teased their leaves with strands of human hair and blew on them to simulate the wind. He discovered that the plants could distinguish between a stone, which they would ignore, and a piece of meat, which they would devour. He proved that they possessed a form of digestion and a primitive sense of taste. For the Victorian public, this was thrilling and terrifying. The carnivorous plant became a symbol of the Gothic, a darker side of nature where the garden was not a place of innocence, but a place of slow, silent violence. It challenged the rigid hierarchy of the era, suggesting that life was far more fluid, dangerous, and interconnected than they had ever dared to imagine. As explorers ventured deeper into the uncharted jungles of Africa, Asia, and South America, the reality of pitcher plants and flytraps fueled a darker fire in the human imagination. If a plant could eat a fly, and a larger plant could eat a rat, was there a limit? In the late 19th century, this fear crystallized into one of the most enduring hoaxes in cryptozoology, the man-eating tree of Madagascar. A report surfaced, allegedly from a German explorer named Carl Liescher, describing a terrifying sacrifice he had witnessed deep in the jungle. He spoke of a tree with 8 leaves like doors and long, hairy, green tendrils that writhed like snakes. He described how the indigenous people forced a woman toward the trunk, where the tendrils wrapped around her, squeezing her life away while the tree drank her blood. It was a fiction, a fabrication created to sell newspapers to a public hungry for exotic horror. But the story tapped into a primal fear that persists to this day. It is the fear of the green inferno, the idea that nature is not a passive backdrop, but an active, hungry entity that can consume us. We see echoes of this myth in The Little Shop of Horrors and countless science fiction stories. The man-eating tree does not exist, but it is a projection of our unease. When we look at a Nepenthes dissolving a lizard or a Drosera suffocating a fly, we see a microcosm of a monstrous potential. We realize that we are made of meat, and that in the right circumstances, with the right evolutionary pressure, the forest could view us not as masters, but as a meal. It is a reminder that our dominance is fragile, and that in the deep, silent corners of the world, the hunger of the plants knows no loyalty to the animal kingdom. The Venus flytrap can count to 2, but this ability implies something even more profound. To count, you must have a memory. You must be able to register an event in the past, the first touch, and hold on to that information long enough to compare it with the present, the second touch. For a creature with a brain, this is simple, but for a plant, it is a feat of bioelectrochemical engineering. The mechanism is not stored in neurons, but in calcium ions. When the trigger hair is bent, it releases a surge of calcium within the leaf's cells. This is the chemical trace of the event, a fading echo. It functions like a biological hourglass. If the second touch happens while the calcium levels are still high, the threshold is breached and the trap closes. If the wait is too long, the calcium dissipates, the memory fades, and the plant resets. This 20-second window is the duration of the plant's short-term memory. It is a fleeting chemical consciousness. Recent research suggests this memory might be even more complex. Plants may be able to remember injuries or environmental stress for days, adjusting their hunting strategies based on past success or failure. It forces us to confront an uncomfortable question. If a leaf can remember, if it can process information and make a life or death decision based on the past, how different is it, really, from the mind of the animal it consumes? We tend to define intelligence by the presence of a central nervous system, a grey mass of tissue that plans and directs. But the carnivorous plants offer a different definition. They demonstrate that you do not need a brain to have a strategy. The pitcher plant does not know that rain will make its rim slippery, yet it has evolved a surface that exploits that exact physical law. The sundew does not decide to strangle a fly, yet its motion is as precise as a constrictor snake. This is embodied intelligence. The genius is not in the software, but in the hardware. Evolution has acted as the programmer, writing the code over millions of years of trial and error. Every failed trap, every wasted movement was pruned away by extinction, leaving only the most efficient designs. The result is a machine that mimics intent. To the fly buzzing around the nectar-laden rim of a Nepenthes, the plant seems to be cunning, patient, and malicious. In reality, it is indifferent. It is simply a set of biological rules executing a program of survival. But looking at the complexity of these rules, the counting, the luring, the selective digestion, it becomes hard to draw a sharp line between the blind growth of a plant and the conscious hunting of an animal. Both are solutions to the same problem: how to stay alive in a world of scarcity. there is a final, supreme irony in the lives of these green hunters. They are creatures of the water living in soaked, boggy earth where their roots are perpetually wet. Yet their survival depends entirely on fire. The habitats where carnivorous plants thrive, the longleaf pine savannas of North America or the heathlands of Australia, are fire-dependent ecosystems. Without regular wildfires, the surrounding grasses and shrubs would grow tall, choking out the sun. Carnivorous plants are poor competitors. They are slow-growing and need immense amounts of direct sunlight to power their energy-expensive traps. They cannot survive in the shade. So, they wait for the lightning. When a wildfire sweeps through the bog, it burns away the tall grasses, the brush, and the competitors. It turns the landscape black. But the carnivorous plants are prepared. They keep their vital energy stored deep underground in thick rhizomes or bulbs, insulated by the damp soil. As soon as the smoke clears, they are the first to emerge from the ash. They rise into the clear, unblocked sunlight, their traps open and ready. The fire does not kill them, it liberates them. It clears the stage for their silent hunt. In this cycle of destruction and rebirth, the green monsters are revealed to be the children of the flame, demanding a scorched earth to build their empire of traps. Despite their fearsome reputation and their complex weaponry, carnivorous plants are ecologically fragile. They suffer from a profound paradox. Their strength is also their Achilles heel. They have evolved to conquer a very specific, very difficult niche, the nitrogen-poor wetland. They are specialists, and in nature, specialization is a gamble. They require water that is pure and soil that is barren. If the chemistry of their home changes even slightly, they collapse. Today, these green hunters face a threat they cannot trap or digest. It is not a lack of food, but an excess of it. Pollution from agriculture and industry rains down nitrogen onto the bogs. To a normal plant, this is fertilizer. It helps them grow fast and tall. But to a carnivorous plant, this is a disaster. As the soil becomes richer, the ordinary grasses and shrubs, the competitors that the carnivorous plants had beaten for millions of years, suddenly explode in growth. They shoot up, blocking the sun, choking the delicate, slow-growing flytraps and pitcher plants in the shade. The monsters are being starved by abundance. They are being erased not by a predator, but by the loss of the silence and purity they need to survive. Let us return one last time to the edge of the bog. The sun is setting, casting long shadows across the moss. To the casual observer, this landscape looks still. It looks peaceful. The wind rustles the reeds and the frogs begin their evening chorus. But we now know the truth. We know that beneath this serene surface, a slow, silent war is being waged. It is a war of chemistry, of deception, and of patience. Every leaf is a loaded weapon. Every drop of nectar is a lie. In the fading light, the Venus flytrap resets its trigger hairs, waiting for the morning fly. The pitcher plant sits heavy with fluid, digesting the day's catch. The sundew glistens, a galaxy of sticky stars waiting for a collision. This is not a passive backdrop. It is a dynamic, hungry, and sentient world. It is a reminder that life will do whatever it takes to persist. It will twist its own body. It will learn to count. It will build cages and vats of acid just to capture a single spark of energy from the air. To truly understand the ancient lineage of these green hunters, we must leave the low-lying bogs and travel to a place that looks like a fragment of a forgotten planet. We must journey to the Guyana highlands of South America, specifically to the mist-shrouded borderlands of Venezuela, Brazil, and Guyana. Here, rising violently from the emerald carpet of the rainforest, are the tepuis. These are not ordinary mountains. They are massive, flat-topped table mountains with sheer vertical cliffs that drop thousands of feet into the jungle below. They act as a geological archipelago, a series of stone islands floating in a sea of clouds. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle famously called this landscape the Lost World, imagining it as a place where dinosaurs still roamed. While there are no dinosaurs here, the reality is botanical and perhaps even stranger. The summits of these mountains have been cut off from the rest of the world for millions of years. They are isolated evolutionary laboratories where life has followed its own lonely, divergent path. The rock that forms these Table Mountains is sandstone, but it is of an age that defies comprehension. It is Precambrian. It was laid down nearly 2 billion years ago, long before complex life existed, long before the first plant crawled onto land. Over eons, the softer earth around them eroded away, leaving these hard, quartz-rich pillars standing alone. This isolation has created a unique problem for life. The rain here is incessant. It washes the bare rock constantly, stripping away any soil that tries to form. The summit of a tepui is a cold, wet, windswept desert of stone. It is one of the most nutrient-poor environments on the surface of the earth. There is almost no nitrogen, there is no phosphorus, there is only hard rock and pure water. It is the ultimate crucible for the carnivorous plant. And here, clinging to the damp cliffs and hiding in the rocky crevices, lives one of the most primitive and beautiful of all the pitcher plants, Heliamphora, the sun pitcher. Heliamphora is a glimpse into the deep past. It shows us what a pitcher plant looked like before it perfected its design. Unlike the Nepenthes of the Asian jungles, the sun pitcher does not hang from a vine. It grows directly from the ground, forming dense clumps of red and green trumpets that point straight up at the sky. Its structure is simple, elegant, and revealing. It is essentially a leaf rolled into a tube and fused at the seam. It lacks the sophisticated lid of its modern cousins. It stands open to the elements. This might seem like a flaw, a primitive oversight. In a landscape where it rains almost every day, an open tube should quickly fill with water, overflow, and wash away the captured prey and digestive juices. A flooded stomach is a useless stomach. But Heliamphora has evolved a brilliant hydraulic solution to this problem. It is not a flaw, it is a piece of ancient engineering. If you look closely at the front of the sun pitcher, there is a small vertical slit in the leaf seam or a specialized dip in the rim. This is a drainage spout. It functions exactly like the overflow drain in a bathtub. When the torrential rains of the tepui fill the pitcher, the excess water flows out through this spout. But the plant has designed the fluid dynamics carefully. The heavy, nutrient-rich soup of decaying insects and enzymes settles at the bottom of the tube. The fresh rainwater, being lighter, stays at the top. When the pitcher overflows, only the clean, excess water is lost. The precious meal at the bottom remains undisturbed. This simple mechanism allows the plant to survive in one of the wettest places on Earth without losing its lunch. It also relies on a symbiotic partner for digestion. Unlike more advanced plants that produce their own powerful acid, the sun pitcher relies on bacteria living in the rainwater to break down its prey. It is a slower, more passive digestion, a relic of an earlier time when plants were just beginning to learn the art of consuming flesh. Since Heliamphora lacks a lid to keep the rain out, it also lacks the traditional lure found on the underside of that lid. Instead, it has evolved a strange, spoon-like structure at the very tip of the leaf. This is the nectar spoon. It is a small, red, hood-like appendage that drips with sweet sugar. In the stark, grey landscape of the Tepui summit, this bright red spot acts like a beacon. Insects, mostly small midges and ants that have adapted to this high-altitude desolation, are drawn to the spoon. To reach the nectar, they must walk out onto the precarious, slippery inner surface of the upper leaf. The trap here is not a pool of acid, but a forest of downward-pointing hairs. Once the insect steps off the spoon and into the tube, there is no turning back. The hairs guide it down, deeper into the water-filled well. It is a quiet death in the clouds. The insect drowns in the cold rainwater, and its body slowly disintegrates to feed a plant that is clinging to a rock 2 billion years old. As we descend from the lost world of the tepuis and return to the complex ecosystems of the lowlands, we encounter a problem that haunts every carnivorous plant. It is a fundamental conflict of interest. These plants have evolved to be efficient killers. They have developed scents, colors, and nectars designed to lure insects to their doom. But like all flowering plants, they also have a desperate need to reproduce. To make seeds, they need pollen to be moved from one flower to another, and the best movers of pollen are the very same insects they are trying to eat. This is the pollinator paradox. If a Venus flytrap eats the bee that carries its pollen, it gains a meal, but it loses its future. It is an evolutionary suicide pact. To survive, these plants have had to become masters of segregation. They have had to design complex safety protocols to ensure that the guests arriving for the wedding do not accidentally wander into the slaughterhouse. This delicate balancing act between sex and violence has shaped the architecture of these plants just as much as the hunger itself. The most common solution to this problem is architectural. It is a separation of space. If you look at a Venus flytrap or a sundew in the wild during the spring, you will notice something striking. The traps are strictly confined to the ground, hugging the soil in a rosette of danger, but the flowers are held high. They sit atop incredibly long, slender stalks that rise 6, 8, or 10 inches into the air, towering far above the deadly leaves below. This is not an aesthetic choice, it is a safety corridor. The flowers are white and open, designed to attract flying insects like bees and hoverflies. These pollinators approach from the air, landing on the high blossoms, drinking the nectar, and departing without ever descending into the danger zone near the ground. Meanwhile, the traps below target a completely different demographic: the crawling insects, the ants and beetles that scour the soil. By physically separating the reproductive organs from the digestive organs, the plant creates two distinct worlds. The attic is for guests, the basement is for food. Not all plants rely on distance, some rely on time. In the pitcher plants of the genus Sarracenia, the separation is chronological. These plants often produce their flowers very early in the spring, before the new pitchers have fully developed. The flowers bloom first, large and bizarrely shaped, attracting bumblebees with a powerful scent. During these crucial weeks, the plant is purely a lover. It is focused entirely on reproduction. Only after the petals have fallen and the seeds are set do the new season's pitchers begin to inflate and open their deadly mouths. By the time the traps are active and hungry, the pollination season is largely over. The bumblebees have moved on to other flowers, and the plant is free to hunt whatever remains. It is a strategy of flower first, kill later, a temporal truce that ensures the survival of the next generation before the business of consumption begins. However, some plants play a riskier game. They do not separate the flower and the trap. Instead, they use the trap as the flower. In certain species of Drosera, the sticky glands are placed right next to the reproductive parts. This seems like a recipe for disaster, but evolution is subtle. These plants have co-evolved with very specific pollinators that are either too large to be caught or too smart to be tricked. Take the relationship between certain pitcher plants and large carpenter bees. The bees are strong enough to grip the slippery rim of the pitcher without falling in. They can harvest the nectar with impunity. But the plant still benefits. While the bee struggles to keep its footing on the treacherous rim, its buzzing wings vibrate the entire flower structure, shaking pollen loose. It is a game of brinkmanship. The plant offers a dangerous reward, and the insect accepts the challenge, knowing that one slip means death. It adds a layer of tension to the ecosystem, where every interaction is a calculated risk, a dance on the edge of a razor. To witness the most immediate threat to these plants, we must return to the green swamp of North Carolina. This small, humid stretch of land is the only place on the entire planet where the Venus flytrap grows wild. It is a biological singularity, but in recent years, this sanctuary has become a crime scene. Under the cover of darkness, poachers enter the swamp. They are not scientists. They are thieves driven by a different kind of market force. They carry backpacks and pillowcases, moving silently through the mud to harvest the green gold. The theft is brutal in its speed. A Venus flytrap takes years to grow from seed to a size where it can trap a fly. It is a slow, patient accumulation of energy, but a poacher can rip it from the ground in a second. In a single night, thousands of plants are uprooted, their delicate rhizomes torn from the moss. They are stuffed into sacks, crushed by the hundreds, to be sold on the black market for pennies apiece. It is a tragedy of scale. A plant that has evolved over millions of years to become the perfect hunter is helpless against a shovel. The very rarity that makes them a marvel of evolution has turned them into a commodity, creating a bizarre reality where the hunter has become the hunted. This hunger for the exotic extends far beyond the swamps of Carolina. In the mountains of Southeast Asia, the giant pitcher plants face a similar, perhaps even more desperate fate. Species like Nepenthes clipiata, which grows only on the sheer granite cliffs of a single mountain in Borneo, have been pushed to the very brink of extinction not by climate change, but by collectors. There is a global, obsessive desire to own the rare, the strange, and the monstrous. The rarest carnivorous plants are traded like illegal art or blood diamonds. A single specimen of a critically endangered pitcher plant can fetch thousands of dollars in online auctions. This financial incentive drives a ruthless harvest. Entire populations of specific species have been wiped out in the wild, stripped from their remote mountain homes to sit in glass terrariums in living rooms halfway across the world. It is a paradox of affection. These collectors love the plants for their beauty and their wildness, yet their love is the engine of their destruction. We are witnessing the erasure of wild genetics, replaced by a lonely existence in captivity. But the poachers are only a symptom of a larger erasure. The true enemy of the carnivorous plant is the loss of the land itself. These plants are extreme specialists. They require a very specific, very fragile set of conditions: wet, acidic, nutrient-poor soil and, crucially, open sunlight. They need the bog. But to the modern world, a bog is wasted space. It is land that needs to be drained, filled, and paved. Across the globe, the wetlands are disappearing. They are being transformed into golf courses, pine plantations, and suburban neighborhoods. The green desert that the plants fought so hard to conquer is being paved over. Even the suppression of fire is a threat. Humans fear fire. We put it out wherever we see it. But without the cleansing burn of the wildfire, the shrubs take over, shading out the sun-loving flytraps and pitchers. We are loving the landscape to death, protecting it from the very forces, fire and flood, that created it. The kingdom of the monsters has shrunk to a few isolated islands of habitat, surrounded by a sea of asphalt and agriculture. There is a final, strange twist to this story. If you walk into a garden center or a hardware store anywhere in the developed world, you can buy a Venus flytrap for a few dollars. They are everywhere. They are mass-produced, cloned by the millions in sterile laboratories using tissue culture. In terms of raw numbers, the Venus flytrap is not extinct. It is thriving. It is more common now than at any point in history. But this abundance is an illusion. These store-bought plants are genetic copies, identical clones raised in plastic pots. They are domesticated shadows of their wild ancestors. The wild population, the plants that carry the genetic diversity, the resilience, and the evolutionary history of the species, is disappearing. We are creating a world where the Venus flytrap exists only as a pet, a novelty item on a windowsill, cut off from the fire, the bog, and the struggle that made it what it is. It is a ghost species, surviving in captivity while its true home fades into memory. The plant has survived the trap of the nitrogen-poor soil, but it remains to be seen if it can survive the trap of the human world. We have journeyed through a world turned upside down. We have seen leaves that bite, flowers that imprison, and roots that seek the sky. We have witnessed the genius of hunger, the engineering of the trap, and the desperate, beautiful struggle for nitrogen that has driven plants to become predators. It is a story of survival written in the most unlikely of languages. But beyond the mechanics of the snap and the chemistry of the digestion, these plants teach us something profound about time. They are the masters of the long game. They wait for the rain to fill their cups. They wait for the fly to make a mistake. They wait for the fire to burn the world down so they can rise from the ash. They remind us that nature is not a static painting, but a dynamic, ruthless, and endlessly creative machine. Even in the face of poaching and habitat loss, in the face of a changing climate, the genetic code of the hunter persists. Deep in the soil, the rhizomes are waiting. Deep in the jungle, the seeds are sleeping. As long as there is hunger, there will be a trap waiting to be sprung. The night has now fully descended upon the bog. The mist is returning, wrapping the green swamp in a blanket of silence. The drama of the hunt is paused. The Venus flytrap has closed its jagged eyelids for the night. The pitcher plants hang heavy and still, their dark work continuing in the quiet of the digestive deep. The sundew glitters under the moonlight, a constellation of waiting stars. The world is vast, strange, and filled with patience. You can let go of your own day now. You can release the need to move, the need to plan, the need to consume. Like the plant in the winter soil, you are safe to rest, to wait, and to simply be. The earth is holding you. The cycle continues in the dark, slow and steady, as it has for millions of years. Good night.